So are you here to get sold on the WiiM amp? Maybe you've heard other YouTubers talk about this and you want to know if it's something that you should buy? Well, you've come to the right place. Did you already buy this and maybe you're looking for verification that you made the right choice? Well, this is also the right video. For full disclosure, WiiM did send this out free for me to review. They sent me the WiiM app and the WiiM Pro Plus streamer. This is a biased review. Why is it biased? Not because they sent it to me, but because I actually like this product. That's all there is to it. This is unlike my other reviews where I'm just kind of going over specs and measurements. I don't have any measurement tools to measure this amp's performance or the DACs. If you want something like that, my buddy Aaron from Aaron's Audio Corner has that. I'll link to that down below. What is the truth? The truth is this thing really works. All the features that it claims to be able to do, all the things it's able to do, it does it well. I will talk about some of the things I don't like. If you just want to know whether this is something you should buy, well, for most people, answer is probably yes. So I actually recommended this to my neighbor. He purchased one with his own money and I set it up. He loves it. And this is not something that I would recommend to somebody if I didn't really think it was that good. Looking up the neighbor, he got a WiiM amp too. Got him the Heiko Auroras. Time to go. This is mostly going to be about the WiiM amp, which is an amplifier with a streamer. It has HDMI ARC, lots of features including their app control. I will touch on the WiiM Pro Plus, which is just a streamer. A lot of the things that apply to the WiiM amp also apply to the WiiM Pro Plus streamer, but I will talk about the things that the streamer can't do that the amp can. So first things first, the unboxing experience on this is pretty amazing. It's like opening an Apple product, which makes sense because the actual device itself does look like a Mac Mini and everything about it screams Apple. And that's a good thing because this is not an expensive device. Right now, this is under 300 bucks. For an Apple product, you could maybe get some earbuds for under 300 bucks. I've reviewed many things in the audio industry that are much more expensive and they don't have this level of an unboxing experience. Is that important? Not really, but does it make you feel good if you're somebody who purchased this? Yeah, it's gonna make you feel like that they care. So about the design and build quality, it looks nice. It feels like aluminum, and there's a nice volume control on the front, which I like because I like analog controls. You can do everything from play, pause, but they also include a remote control. Most of the things that you'll probably need to do are on the remote itself, but the way I use it, I mostly use the app to do everything. Regarding connectivity, it has optical, it has RCA input, it has Bluetooth, but most importantly, this has HDMI ARC, which means that you can connect it to your TV and control the volume on this thing using your existing TV remote. One thing I really like is it'll automatically switch sources to the HDMI input. Let's say if I'm playing something over Bluetooth, I put that away and then I start streaming something, that will play automatically, so it switches. And then if I turn on the TV, it'll automatically switch to the TV, and it's all seamless. One of the things that I think is surprising is you can actually output to another Bluetooth device. So let's say if you have some Bluetooth headphones, you can play something out of your TV connected via HDMI to the WiiM app and then have that sound go to your Bluetooth headphones. That's kind of cool. You can also AirPlay to, let's say if you have some HomePods, you can AirPlay out from the TV to the HomePod, but you cannot play something from the amp and the speakers connected to the amp and those Bluetooth devices simultaneously. In the past, I've tried products that use HDMI ARC, and sometimes it's kind of wonky. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. This one has worked flawlessly. This does have multi-room capabilities, which means that if I stream something to one of the WiiM devices, I can actually make it connect to a WiiM streamer in another room, kind of like a Sonos system. The one thing I wish it could do is use the HDMI and cast that or stream that to another device in case, let's say I'm watching a game over here and I move to another room. I still want to maybe be able to hear that. That does not work that way currently. For the audiophiles out there, I'm sure you want to know how this thing sounds. And I mean, I'm not one to claim that I can hear the difference between DACs. This does have decent DACs. The WiiM amp uses the ESS 9018K2M DAC, if that means something to you. I know my buddy Technodad really loves the ESS Saber DACs. I don't know why, but He seems to like them. The Pro Plus streamer uses the AKM4493 SEQ DAC. They sound good, they support high-res audio, and that's more than enough for me. The one thing you should be careful of though is that this thing does have limited power. It's a small product, and it has 60 watts RMS into 8 ohms, that's what they claim, and 120 into 4 ohms. I think I've seen on Aaron's video that maybe it didn't quite hit those numbers, but all I know is in my situation, it played pretty much loud enough. Most people think that if you have a lower powered amp, that it's going to be harder to drive, large towers. That's what people say. It's actually the opposite. If you're trying to play some small speakers really loud, those are probably the ones that are going to be hardest to drive. For example, I'm using the Monolith THX compact satellite speakers, which are these small cubes, and they are 81 dB sensitivity, which means that it takes a lot of power to get them to play somewhat loud. In my bedroom, it's fine. I'm not playing music or movies really loud, but what I did notice was with most music, no problem. It could play as loud as I would want to play it. But for certain movies, for example, on Netflix, I don't know if you guys have noticed that sometimes the Netflix stuff is lower in volume. And in some of those cases, I'm like, man, I wish I had a little bit more volume on these. With these small 81 dB sensitivity speakers, it could be an issue. The way I have it set up currently is I have those connected with an SVS 3000 micro. So it's a cool little setup there, and it sounds really good. And that's because of this next part here. Most things like this don't have anything. Maybe they'll give you some bass and treble tone controls, and that's about it. This had 10 bands of graphic EQ. You guys may know that I have an app called the Magic Beans audio app, which is created for calibration purposes, and we do have an export for graphic EQ and parametric EQ. I'll link to that down below. With this most recent update, they've upgraded this to take up to 10 bands of parametric EQ. Now, it's not per speaker. They're promising that that will be in their future updates on their roadmap, and I believe them. I believe them because they promised that they would have 10 bands of parametric EQ, and they follow through on that. They also say that they're going to have room correction in a future update, maybe in a month or so. I think the date that they have there is June 15th, 2024. Importing from Magic Beans was a manual process, but it was pretty simple because it was just 10 bands of PEQ. Didn't take very long, but I wish there were a way, of course, to import directly into the WiiM amp. That would be pretty awesome. Come and talk to me, WiiM. This also has a sub out, which is awesome because you can add a sub. Previously, what you could change was the levels and the crossover frequency. So you could set the frequency crossover point, and it was smart enough to set a low pass crossover for the sub. So only the bass would go to the subwoofer, and anything that wasn't sent to the sub would get passed to the main speakers. So that's helpful. In this case, I'm using small speakers, so I wanted to cross it over so they weren't playing heavy bass, and that would get sent over to the sub instead. It worked perfectly, but the one thing I've always complained about is when there's a sub out, typically most subs have some sort of built-in delay because they have DSP. So that could be 6 to 8 milliseconds is kind of average. And what people will experience is that they'll say the subwoofer is slow. Well, that's true because the subwoofer is delayed by 6 to 8 milliseconds because it has DSP. The most recent update fixes that because it allows you to change the delay of your main speaker so it matches the delay of your subwoofer. So when a sound plays, it comes from the subwoofer and the main speakers at the same exact time. This is a manual process, so you're gonna probably have to do something like REW to figure out what the delay is, but mess around. 6 to 8 milliseconds is typical for an SVS like the one I'm using here, and it worked perfectly. The sub integration is even better than it used to be prior. They also have a 180-degree phase switch, so if you want to change the polarity, that's something that was previously available, and that is helpful. In my case, I use 180 degree. It has to be switched for it to sound correct, and I get the best summation that way. One thing I like is in the app, they actually have a link to the entire manual. You could look through the whole thing on your phone. You don't have to try to find it somewhere online. Just click on it from the app itself. Also, they have a link to their roadmap of future updates, which is cool. You can go directly to their website, their forum, and show you all the things that they're currently working on. In a future update, they say that they're going to do 10 bands of PEQ settings for both the left and the right speaker, so you can EQ them independently. Very handy. But I wish they would also add one for the subwoofer, because 10 bands of PEQ for the sub is really helpful in most cases. Most of the issues that you'll find in your room are probably going to be bass related. So WiiM, if you're listening, that would be a great idea. The main reason I really like this is because I actually use it. It's simple enough and reliable enough where I use it on a regular basis. When I'm getting dressed, brushing my teeth, I'll go and play music to this thing. And it's just as simple as that. It just works as I would expect it to work. Also, you can tell they have just small, nice touches where if you switch from one thing to another or change tracks, there's a smooth fade between them. Just things like that where you're like, somebody sat and thought about that. They didn't have to do that, but it just makes you feel good knowing that somebody took the time to do that. Now, I have lots of devices I can actually stream to. I previously reviewed the SingCell Alpha, which is, I think, $3,000 for this thing, but I could only AirPlay from Apple Music and Spotify, and it was very limited. I have Denon products with Hios, and not really a huge fan. I have an NAD T778, which uses Blue Sound, and that works pretty well. At least it has Qobuz, which is a service that I use for high-res music. Hios does not have that. Some products that I've tried have Qobuz support, some don't. It's kind of a hit and miss. The main issue, though, is I like to use YouTube Music because I get it free with my premium subscription. So if you have YouTube Music, a lot of these devices, you'll notice, don't have native support for that. And neither does this. You can't just go into the app and search for something and play it through YouTube Music. You have to go into YouTube Music and cast it to this device, but it works via Chromecast. So that's already good. That's better than some other products that don't support that whatsoever. They do say in the roadmap that they are working on an in-app integration for YouTube Music. Now, they also sent me the WiiM Pro Plus streamer, which I use in the kitchen. I have some speakers above the refrigerator, and I actually calibrated those with Magic Beans also. My wife thought I was crazy, but it's a cool thing to be able to stream music to when you're cooking. That works. The main difference between the Pro Plus streamer is it uses a different DAC. It doesn't have HDMI ARC, and it doesn't have a subwoofer output, and it doesn't have an amplifier. So you're gonna have to connect some speakers that may have an internal amplifier, or you can connect another amp. I really think it's probably best with some speakers that have a built-in amp. So I don't often have to stream to both devices at the same time, but I did try it and it works. So my final thoughts about this: it's under $300. It's an amplifier, it's a streamer, it's a nice product. The interface on the app is nice. Everything works. They're constantly improving it. It gives me the ability to use Magic Beans to get the best possible sound out of it. Many more expensive products don't have these capabilities. It works with the two services that I currently use, and I trust that they're going to constantly improve this thing because they have a good track record of doing so. So this is an easy recommendation. I know there are other videos that may touch on other aspects of this, and you should probably go watch those too. But if you're convinced and you think that this is something that you want based on this video, maybe use my link. If you like this video, make sure to like, subscribe, ring the bell to be notified when I upload new videos, and maybe watch some of these videos if you're interested in something related. Thanks for watching.